Today, I would like to share international economic cooperation from 1948 to 1967. First of all, let me talk about some background post-war. In 1945, the World War II ended. You can see that in the picture shows the number of deaths in Europe. In World War II, Europe was the main battlefield. Therefore, many people died and the place was destroyed extremely. The economic system was decreased in Europe. And then there are two superpowers, the US and the USSR. Since the US wasn't a place in Europe, the US didn't suffer a lot. The US wanted to control West Europe, and the USSR wanted to control the East Europe. They spread their ideology to the world and hope they join their blocs. Since the European countries don't wanted to control it by the US, so they started to cooperate and recover their loss in the World War II and became a stronger country. The first cooperation was Benelux Union. During World War II, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg has already decided their cooperation plan. They agreed to coordinate their economic and social policy as well as adopted a common trade policy towards other countries. They removed the restriction on the free flow of goods, resources, and labor within the regions. Why they having cooperation? Since there are three countries were a small country and the geographical location was close, and so that it is good for their cooperation and helpful. It was a positive impact for these three countries. Trade volume has increased two times in 10 years. In the coming years, more European countries to learn them to having cooperation since they see this successful in it. Let me talk about the second cooperation in Europe, Organization for European Economic Cooperation. It was established by the US. There are around 10 to 20 countries participated in. It was aimed to effective to distribute the money of Marshall Plan. Some big countries such as France and Britain can get more money in the Marshall Plan. Some weaker countries such as Belgium and such as Netherlands can only get less money in the plan. Why the cooperation is important to distribute the money? Since the US give the money for them for the recover post-war, main European country had a great suffer and great economic loss and many people died in the World War II. They wanted to recover very fast and having a better life for their citizens so that they started to cooperate to separate to to distribute the money from Marshall Plan effectively and get a better life for their citizens. It was a positive impact since they can have more money targeted by the US. By the way, France noticed that European countries should collaborate among themselves in order to avoid control by US, so that de Gaulle established European Coal and Steel Community in 1952. There are 6 countries joined it: France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. Why West Germany can join it? Since de Gaulle decided to end the long-term hostility with Germany. He wanted to improve relationship between Germany and France. Also, he wanted to enlarge trade market in order to improve economic. In this plan, many uh, all the country put all their coal and steel production under joint administration, and they put their reproduction of coal and steel under the high authority. It was a place that the power was larger than the government of each country. It was a positive impact. You can see that in the picture shows the amount of increases in imports. The total output increased by 50%. In the 1958 European Economic Community was established. There are also 6 countries participated, same as European Coal and Steel Community. The aim of the EEC included removing tariffs barriers among its member states and imposing a common external tariffs, encouraging the free flow of goods, resources, and labor within the community, and they encourage agricultural policy. If the market price fell below the common price, the government would be provided from the agricultural fund that was raised by the member state. Moreover, they had a standards of salary and social welfare as well as units of measurements. It aimed to increase the economic and having some cooperation to get a faster recover post-war. The result was totally positive. The trade volume among member states increased by 240%. Trade volume between EEC and other countries in the world increased by 90%. In the same year, the European Investment Bank was established to provide loans to member states that had slow development. It was very helpful for some small countries to having faster recover post-war. You may ask a question: why Britain, as a big country in Europe, didn't participate in this cooperation? Let me tell you, France afraid Britain to join it. Since Britain had a friend relationship with the US, the aim of their cooperation is they afraid the US to control the whole Western European. So the if the US the Britain join it, the US may control it, and the plan of the cooperation were not successful, so the France didn't let Britain to join it. There are another cooperation plan was European Atomic Energy Community. When you see the name, you know it's some plan for increasing their military power. There are also 6 countries participated: France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. It was aimed to develop the nuclear industry, increasing their own military power since they wanted to having a larger military power and increasing their own country power and hope one day could fight against the USSR and the US and became a superpowers. The France and Britain wanted to became stronger since they have a great loss in World War II. However, this is giving a negative impact. Why? Because of France and Germany had disagreement over nuclear cooperation. The development of Euratomic became to a halt in the 1960s. It couldn't work out the collaborative design of the nuclear reactor. It was the only one failed cooperation in European cooperation. This is the only one, so we need to remember it. In 1960, Britain established the European Free Trade Association. Why Britain suddenly established it? Since Britain could not compete with the EEC in isolation. Britain had a great loss in the World War II, but she didn't have a lot of friends, didn't have a lot of countries to help her to recover it. However, on the other side, France has a lot of countries to help them, to help her in order to recover their economic. So Britain wanted to find more countries in order to help her to increasing her economic by cooperation. So she find Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Portugal, Switzerland, and Australia. They formed EFTA. The aim is promote trade development in order to increases the economic system by every country. But the EFTA only removed internal tariffs barriers but didn't impose a common external tariffs. So their scales and way of the cooperation was smaller than the EEC. Also, their population was smaller. The population was half of that of the EEC. EFTA's member states had relatively weaker economics, so they couldn't help Britain a lot. However, this still can a positive impact for them since the trade volume within the EFTA had increased by 240%. Let me talk about EEC and EFTA. Let me comparing them. EEC was established by France and trade volume had increased by 430%, and EFTA was established by Britain, which its trade volume has increased by 240%. Both of them were very successful since they can having a great increases in volume trade trade volume, and because it can make a lot of money in order to having the recovery post-war, but it it's a very good impact to the Western Europe. It could and faster the recovery. Let me make some conclusion. The Europe cooperation in the economic was a successful plan. It could recover the loss post-war and increase the economic. And more so, it could improve the relationship between countries. In the right hand side, you can see that there are a picture, there are cartoon. The man who was a big man in 1954 was the US. The US established the Marshall Plan in 1947 to help European countries to recover their economic after the World War II, and he was one of the superpowers in the world. So in that time, the US was a, had a better economic system and a bigger country than European countries. The right hand side was the European countries. They are very small and they look at the US. They follow the action of the US. They need to the help for the of the US to recovering. So they were a weakened country than US. In by the time of 1974, in the past of 20 years, the European country had some cooperation and become stronger and stronger. They invest a lot of weapons, nuclear power, and enlarge their military, increases their trade market, and improve their economic system, and more cooperation with each other. They could have a lot of free trades and free flows of goods, resources, and labor within their community, have increased their country power a lot, so that you can see that the European power was started to has a balance even over the US. In the picture, you can see that the man who was the US felt afraid while the European countries touched him. It shows that European countries became very strong after the cooperation. Also, you can see the industrial environment and airplanes of in the cartoon. It shows that the European country has a successful by the improving their industry and military power. Totally, in the last, I want to say that it was a very successful plan for the Western Europe country by cooperation of the economic. Let me talk again this plan. First of all, they has Benelux Union in 1948. Secondly, they has Organization for European Economic Cooperation in 1948. Thirdly, they had European Coal and Steel Community in 1952. Also, they had European Economic Community in 1958. In 1958, as the same year, there are European Atomic Energy Community. In 1960, there are European Free Trade Association. These plans help Europe to foster their recovery of the lost in the World War II and recover their economic loss. It was a very successful plan. That's all my sharing. Thank you.